Hi guys, so let's talk about some real life examples of romantics. So these are all ladies who volunteered their photos and gave me permission to use them in my videos. So let's say thank you to them in the comments. And you guys know I also offer consults through my website, and your photos are always private unless you tell me explicitly that I can share them. So if you are still confused about your body type, then you can check out the links in the description for my consults. Let's get into it. So here is our first romantic lady. So you can see that she has a lot of softness to her, and she has pretty small and short bones. She looks pretty short and pretty curvy overall and very soft. You can see that her cheekbones are pretty dainty. Her nose has a lot of rounded shapes to it, and her cheeks are soft. Her eyes are slightly upturned, and her jawline is tapered and dainty. Her shoulders are pretty rounded and sloped, adding more rounded lines to her overall shape. Her arms are shorter, her legs are pretty short, and her hands and feet are also pretty small. So she is a romantic. She also sent me some photos of herself when she was younger, and you can see at all of these different ages, she is still a romantic. You can see how rounded she looks, how soft she looks, and you can see that she has a lot of rounded shapes overall to her features, to her shape of her body, and everything like that. So she looks short, small, soft, and rounded. And she looks amazing in some soft pastels or some bright and vivid colors, and you can see that on the left she looks wonderful with that lace detailing and the soft furry hat, and on the right she looks really wonderful with the bright colors that are really vivid, as well as the glossy lip that adds a little bit of weightlessness to her look because she is a romantic. So she looks amazing in some weightless looks, some sparkles, some gloss, and things like that. Romantics look amazing in lightweight fabrics that flow, cropped pants, and primarily fitted looks. Not so fitted that they are stiff, but just a little bit fitted so that you can see the shape, and the romantic's bone structure is not overpowered by oversized looks. So you can see that the jackets that she's wearing here are a little bit more fitted, and they have some fittedness at the cuffs. Her pants are a little bit fitted, but not so fitted that they can look stiff. They are just a little fitted so that they're not overpowering, and they're also cropped. And of course, lightweight fabrics that flow are really wonderful on any romantic. Our next lady is also a romantic. So you can see again that she has primarily very dainty and soft and rounded facial bones. Her nose is pretty soft and rounded. Her cheekbones are not angular or prominent. Her jawline is pretty soft and rounded, and her features are also soft. Her eyes are pretty rounded. Her lips are lush, and her cheeks are soft, and her skeleton and her body's flesh is also all very small, short, and rounded. So you can see that she looks very short, so her vertical line is short. She has some short arms and legs, some small hands and feet, and a curvy, shapely figure as well. So she looks amazing in these kinds of looks that have a lot of draping, a lot of waist emphasis, and some lightweight fabrics, and that looks amazing on her, and some cropped pants too, of course. Our next lady is also a romantic, so you can see that she has some rounded cheekbones, a soft jawline, a soft nose, and also some soft facial features, and she looks pretty small and short and rounded, and you can see how she looks wonderful with the soft texture to her hair. I often get the question of, do I have to heat style my hair all the time as a romantic? No, I don't think you do. I think that the most important thing about hair are the shape of the hair, whether it's rounded or angular, the overall shape, as well as the texture being soft for a romantic. So I think that her soft textured hair looks wonderful on her, and that lightweight top that fits really well at the cuffs but is pretty draped and soft in the middle there, and on the right, the dress that fits really nicely and also has some dainty straps, and that looks amazing on her as well. Our next lady is also a romantic. So this lady has, again, some soft facial bones. She doesn't have any angles to her facial bones, and her features are also very soft. Her lips are lush, her eyes are pretty rounded, and her figure and her bone structure are also pretty soft. You can see how small her hands are and how her shoulders are a bit more rounded, and overall she looks very shapely and rounded and soft. And she looks amazing there in the middle with some cropped cropped pants and some waist definition, but still some rounded edges with her hair and in the top, and on the right with a more form-fitting dress, but a lightweight fabric, and that looks amazing on her too. So all of these ladies that I showed are pretty obviously romantics because they have a lot of answer E's. But how about answer D's? So you can see that this lady here has more answer D's than answer E's. So for example, her nose is answer D. It's not so rounded, but rather it's just very small and very dainty. And you can also see that her jawline is tapered rather than rounded. And you can see that her shoulders are sloped, but they have some sharpness at the edges. But at the same time, her arms and legs look pretty short. She looks pretty short. Her hands and feet look pretty small. So she is a romantic and not a theatrical romantic. And you can also see that maybe she has some C answers. For example, her waist could be answer C. Not so waspish and not so short, but still that doesn't contribute to her yin-yang balance, so she remains a romantic and not a theatrical romantic because she doesn't have any yang answers. You could say, well, her cheekbones look pretty sharp, right? And I would like to invite you to take a look at Christina Ricci, who also looks like she has some sharpness to her facial bones, but she is a Kibbe verified romantic. So I would say that there really has to be a lot of sharpness for it to be considered a yang answer. And I would say that even if this lady on the left had some sharper cheekbones, that's really her only yang answer. And I don't think it's enough to carry an entire yang undercurrent. So she is still a romantic, not a theatrical romantic. And you can see how amazing she looks with some sparkly jewelry, some intricate necklace there, and that looks amazing on her. And on the right with some lace and some soft, luxurious fabrics, that looks wonderful on her as well. Next up, we have theatrical romantics. Theatrical romantics have primarily romantic features and romantic bone structure, but they might have some sharpness coming primarily from their bones. So here is our first theatrical romantic lady. You can see that she has some sharpness coming from her cheekbones being a bit more angular. Her arms and legs on the right, you can see they're a little bit longer, so they add that yang undercurrent, and she also looks a little bit taller. So these are 3 yang answers, and the rest of her answers are all yin. So she is still primarily a romantic, but she has a yang undercurrent, so she is theatrical romantic. And you can see how she looks amazing in that dress on the left that has more of an hourglass shape and some dainty draping to it and some dainty straps. That looks amazing. She looks amazing in the middle with some cleavage emphasis, which looks really great on a theatrical romantic. And on the right, she looks really great in the lightweight fabric with some sharp waist emphasis as well. Our next lady is also theatrical romantic. You can see she has some sharper cheekbones. Maybe she looks a bit taller and her arms and legs are a bit longer. And she looks amazing in that lace dress, and she looks really amazing in that outfit on the right. And this, I just want to stop to talk here about the idea that theatrical romantics and romantics always have to wear frilly things to look amazing. You can see that on the right, nothing really about that look is frilly, but it's still a theatrical romantic look because it is slightly oversized, so it creates this soft draping, but it also has some waist emphasis, and it also fits at the hemline, so that's another yin element. And her hair has some rounded edges there, and her dress also fits at the cuffs, so that looks amazing to have that fittedness at the edges. Looks really wonderful on theatrical romantic. So I think on the right is actually a textbook theatrical romantic look. Our next lady is also theatrical romantic. You can see that she is primarily soft and rounded, but she has some sharpness maybe coming from her facial bones, and she also has some longer arms and legs, but still she looks pretty soft and rounded. She looks pretty short, her bust line is pretty shapely, and her facial features are also pretty lush and pretty full. But she also pulls off the pixie cut because theatrical romantics can pull off some gamine looks more easily than gamines can pull off theatrical romantic looks. You can see she looks pretty good in the gamine look on the left with the pixie cut. She looks pretty good in the middle as well with some sharpness at the edges there. So in the middle, I would say that's primarily theatrical romantic. And on the right, she also looks really wonderful with that soft shirt with the draping and the lightweight fabric. And you can really see how that softness of the fabric really complements the softness of her flesh and her facial features. So she is theatrical romantic. Another theatrical romantic, you can see again she gets some sharpness from her facial bones with her higher cheekbones, and she also has some longer arms and legs, and maybe she does look a little bit taller, so that is her yang undercurrent, but still she is primarily soft and rounded, and she has an hourglass shape and some full yin features as well. She looks really sophisticated in that dress on the right because it actually does have some yin elements, so it has some waist emphasis and it has some tapering at the hemline, which is another yin element, and at the same time it has some sharpness with the sharper neckline to add the yang undercurrent, so overall it looks very harmonious on her. You can see that she looks pretty good in soft gamine lines too. I talk about this a lot. Gamine lines on theatrical romantic can look really quite good, so on the left primarily a soft gamine top, I would say, and she looks really good there, and on the right she has some more theatrical romantic elements like some tapering at the ankle for the pants and some lightweight flowy fabrics of the dress as well. Next up, we have a theatrical romantic with some ingenue essence. So this is kind of common. Anyone with ingenue essence gets mistaken for a gamine or a soft gamine, but in this case, this lady is a theatrical romantic, and you can see that she also has a bit more sharpness to her facial bones than some of our other theatrical romantic examples. So if we look at her face alone, we can't really decide if she is soft gamine or theatrical romantic. Her jawline is a bit angular, and her cheekbones are also a bit angular. So it could be maybe she is soft gamine, but everything else about her facial bones and her facial features is yin. And not only that, when we compare her face as well as her body all together as a full picture, we can see that she is theatrical romantic. So you can see on the right how she has some rounded shoulders, a very short vertical line, some smaller hands and feet. You can see her hands are pretty small in the picture in the middle there. And overall, she has a bit less sharpness in her skeleton than a soft gamine would have. So she is still a theatrical romantic. And she looks amazing in some glamorous looks, and she also looks amazing in that look in the middle where she has a slightly oversized jacket over some form-fitting clothing, and that is amazing on theatrical romantic, that kind of glamorous look with some slightly oversized top or something like that looks really wonderful, and the tapered shoes look amazing on her. And of course, she looks very glamorous on the left, but also she has ingenue essence, right? So she looks definitely quite cute, but at the same time, those lines work really well with her body too. And on the right, she also has some theatrical romantic elements there with some slightly oversized top with some draping and a pretty flowy skirt, so she looks amazing there too. Our next lady is also theatrical romantic. In this case, you can also see that she does not get her yang undercurrent from her vertical line. You can see she looks very small and short, but you can see that maybe her shoulders have some blunt angles there, and her arms and legs look a little bit longer, especially her arms do look like they are a little bit longer, so she gets her yang undercurrent from her skeleton that way, but everything else is yin, and her cheekbones are also a little bit more angular, so that adds to her yang undercurrent. But primarily she is still a romantic type. So she is a romantic with a yang undercurrent. And you can see how she looks amazing with some tapered pants. She looks amazing with some frilly sort of dresses and tops, and maybe some slightly oversized tops are also good if there's some fittedness at the cuffs, and some softer textured hair also looks amazing on her too. So now we have another theatrical romantic. You can see that in this case, she gets her yang undercurrent from her cheekbones and her jawline, but everything else is pretty yin. Her eyes are upturned, her cheeks are soft, her nose is very small and dainty, and she also gets a part of her yang undercurrent from her height. She looks a little bit taller, and she also at the same time has some shorter arms and legs, some small, very small hands and feet. So overall, she is primarily yin. She has a yin bone structure, but she has some added sharpness to her bone structure and is quite curvy, and her facial features are also pretty yin and pretty soft. So you can see how she looks amazing with some brighter colors for her makeup, some gloss, that looks wonderful on her, and she also looks amazing with some sharpness at the shoulders like on the right, and some waist definition as well, and some cropping of the pants. Some tapered and cropped pants look amazing on her too. Another theatrical romantic, so you can see at this time she gets her yang undercurrent from her jawline and not from her cheekbones. So her jawline is a bit more angular, but her cheekbones are quite dainty. But overall, she is still very soft, rounded, and small in her bones and in her flesh. And then you can see on the right that her shoulders are also pretty sloped and rounded, but maybe her arms are a little bit longer. But overall, she is a theatrical romantic. And you can see how elegant and sophisticated she looks on the left there. I think that looks amazing on her. And I also often get the complaint that theatrical romantics and romantics always have to look sexy. They can't look elegant. They can't look sophisticated. They always have to look very sexy. But actually, she looks very elegant there on the left, and she's wearing her own theatrical romantic lines. So very glamorous hair, an intricate necklace, some lace on the dress, and if a soft classic were to wear this look, she would look glamorous and sexy. But if a theatrical romantic wears this look, they look very elegant and sophisticated. And on the right, she also looks amazing. She has some lightweight fabrics there and some softness to her hair and her hair texture, and she just looks amazing there as well. Now let's do a quick comparison between theatrical romantic and romantic. So you can see on the left we have a romantic face, and on the right we have a theatrical romantic face. And you can see how on the left there is really no sharpness to the face at all, no yang undercurrent at all. And on the right we have some sharper cheekbones, but everything else is still pretty yin, soft, and rounded. So that is the small difference of theatrical romantic versus romantic in the face. Maybe one or two answers can be sharper for theatrical romantic, but romantic is not going to have really any sharpness to the facial bones or the facial features. And when we compare some full-length photos of these ladies, we can see that on the left, she does not have any yang, again, any yang to her skeleton or to her flesh. So you can see that she looks pretty short. Her arms and legs are pretty short. Her hands and feet are pretty small. Really no yang. But on the right, the yang undercurrent comes from longer arms and legs, maybe looking a bit taller. But at the same time, both of these ladies are primarily curvy and small, and they read as being very soft. Let's take a look at two more ladies. So on the left, we have romantic. On the right, theatrical romantic. So you can see that theatrical romantic, again, has some sharper cheekbones. I would have to see more pictures. I want to say she also has maybe a little bit of a blunt angled jawline. Maybe that adds to her yang undercurrent, but I'd have to see more pictures. But overall, she has some more sharpness to the facial bones than romantic does on the left. But still, the facial features are soft for both romantic and theatrical romantic. I picked these two ladies specifically to compare because you can see that romantic on the left looks a little bit taller than theatrical romantic on the right. And I want to mention this because the yang for theatrical romantic can come anywhere from the bones. So you can see that on the left, maybe this romantic has an answer C, maybe moderate vertical lines, so it doesn't add to her yin-yang balance, but still she doesn't look very short or very small, but she also doesn't look that tall either. But on the right, theatrical romantic in this case looks really quite short and small. But you can also see that theatrical romantic has maybe some longer arms, maybe some blunt angles to the shoulders, so she still has a yang undercurrent. And of course, we also looked at her face, and her facial bones have some yang to them as well. So she gets her yang undercurrent still from the bones, even though she looks short. So theatrical romantic doesn't always have to have a long vertical line or long arms and legs. You can really get your yang undercurrent from anywhere from the bones and the skeleton and the facial bones. So that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any video requests, comments, questions, discussion, please leave them down below. And also, of course, if you're still confused about your Kibbe body type, then you can check out my consults, and I will leave a link down below to that as well. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.